Chris, I'm frozen.
We need the music to keep going. We need the music to keep going so I can just keep just doing this chair dance.
Never gonna give you up.
Never gonna let you down. All right, we got copyright infringement. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to another show, another podcast, another episode of the Raw, the Unfiltered Experience with Christopher Rausch and my beautiful co-host,
Scott Goyette. I like Raw and Unscripted too. We can do Raw and Unscripted today. We can just merge the two together.
Raw and Unfiltered and Unscripted. Yes, that's what we do here every single week, guys. We are here every single Friday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Your place where we have unfiltered conversations designed to move you forward, to shift your perspective just a little bit about the opportunities and the amazing way that you can live your life moving forward from this point. Scott, how are you doing this week, brother?
Chris, I'm doing okay, but I have this really weird itch on my arm that's bothering me. I'm going to show you. I'm not sure what it is.
Oh, no way. He's rocking.
I'm not sure. It's like there's some itch there. It's something about, I think this might be the theme of our show. If we want to become unstoppable, we got to start by believing, and maybe we got to explore some of the ways that we can tolerate less, but at the same time, still be empathetic to all. Is that too much to do today?
No. And then what we got to do is we got to be able to go love now.
Bam.
To go love ourselves now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now. I like it.
As a matter of fact, that was one of the things I was working on earlier with our webmaster, Ben, is getting these things up on the website for sale. Hey.
Nice.
Yes, we got to believe, we got to have no excuses, and definitely we got to have the faith that life is happening for us and not to us. And we have a show for you guys tonight. We have an amazing guest that's going to inspire you off your ass and into being healthy and having a kick-ass 2022. Scott, please give the honors and introduce our guest tonight.
I'll do it. So, one of the things Chris and I talk about a lot, and there's a fine line in the balance with this, is what is it that we really need to tolerate or are willing to tolerate in this world? But at the same time, how can you be remotely tolerant, be empathetic to all, but not allow people to do things that are invading your peace? And I know they just made that super verbose, but at the end of the day, your peace matters. And who you are and your journey matter to you. And so this amazing human being is somebody who, even though, everything in her world was being, Chris and I talk about identity all the time. Everything in her world was being built. She's going from step A to step B. Like we all talk about being on autopilot. This person made some huge decisions to get out of the space that she was in and go into a space that she knew she needed to be in. And it's a long journey, and we're going to talk about that and her backstory and then talk about where she is today. Please welcome Hanna Stone.
Hanna Stone, welcome to the Unfiltered Experience. What's up, darling? How are you doing tonight?
Great. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Pleasure.
We're super excited to have you here.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Chris, are you drinking today? I don't even think you're drinking, are you?
I am drinking this whole 32-ounce bottle of Tito's vodka on ice.
No,
watch this.
Naughty. Wow.
What are we doing tonight?
There you go.
Where are we anyway? No, it's water.
Yeah.
Body by Jack. That's later.
There you go.
What about you? You having your non-tasting, non-gluten
nothing
something beer?
No Pinot Noir, no silly wines, no gluten-free beers, no splash of lime. I drank a what do you call it, an electrolyte drink, and now I'm just sitting here drink-free. I probably should have a drink, actually.
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about some important stuff, so maybe we want to be a little bit more healthier tonight.
There you go.
Just water. Let's just stick to water.
Yep.
All right. Super cool. Well, let me go ahead.
Yeah. No, I wanted to introduce myself. So my name is Hanna Stone. I'm 27 years old, and I'm originally from Israel. So first of all, my English is not my first language, so there might be a little accent or weird words that I'll say, or different things that I say. So just heads up, okay?
It's all good.
And so I moved here from Israel about 6 years ago. I just moved to Austin 4 months ago from Las Vegas. I was in Las Vegas in the past 6 years. But yeah, originally from Israel. So a little further.
So you posted a picture the other day that really just got me to think, and you posted it, and it was little tiny Hanna Stone. You might have been what, 2, 3, 4 years old, just this little smile. And you were talking about what it would be like to go back and give that little girl a hug and just say, I love you, little Hannah. And that's something Chris and I talk about all the time, is going back to that child in us and bringing back that curiosity and that wonder and realizing we're more than enough. We're more than worthy. Let's talk about that journey that starts back where that picture originated and walk us towards today.
Yes. So that picture was the last episode that I did on my podcast. I was talking about like being the chubbiest kid out of 11 siblings. So I have 10 siblings, but I'm gonna back up a little bit. So
Cool.
I'm from Israel, not from a regular like family. Like I grew up in a cult basically. So it's like super Orthodox family in Israel. So most people in Israel are like normal. There's like maybe like very small percentage of people in Israel that are actually like religious, and very small, like smaller percentage that are actually like really extreme, like my parents. So and they don't really they don't really use condoms. Like they just like having kids. That's pretty much their destiny, to just have as many kids as possible. So so I was born and raised into that. So my growing up like that, basically, it's like, first of all, in that world, everything is like we are completely disconnected from the world. So there's no TV, no computers, no internet, no movies, no video games, nothing, none of that, no music, nothing. So we live, like, I came from a little city that is very like a small city in Israel, that no one really goes in and out of the city. So it's kind of like you don't know, like Tel Aviv, for example. I'm sure a lot of you heard of Tel Aviv, which is the biggest city, and it's very well known in Israel. But it's like 20 minutes from that city that I grew up in, but I never got to be there growing up because it's so disconnected. They're like so afraid that you're gonna go out and see the world, so they like close you in this little bubble and you're disconnected completely. So growing up in this was really interesting and very, like, I mean, first of all, I had like 10 siblings, so, and there's no, like, you can't really like be playing like games and stuff like that, like on the computer. So it's just like real world stuff. Like, I mean, it's just like I don't know, playing outside with the kids or whatever. And I was also like the black sheep of the family. So out of the 11 kids, I was in the middle. So 5 older than me, 5 younger than me. So my parents and I, we did not really get along, and that's the least I can say. So I grew up there, and then basically, when there's more into that story, but I never felt connected. I always felt like I'm in a cage. I always felt like I'm being told what to do, and I don't want to do these things because it simply doesn't make me happy. So when people ask me, like, when did you decide that you don't want to be there? It's kind of like, since I can remember myself. Like, I remember myself like in first grade, when everybody got there's like a little prayer book that everybody's getting in first grade, and it's like exciting because you step into the adult world and you can pray from a book, and I was like, fuck that shit. Like, I don't do that. Like, I mean, I was just kind of like played, like, okay, whatever, but and that's the first memory I have of like me not being into that kind of stuff. Like, I was like, who am I doing this for? I don't even know what I'm saying here in this book. Like, what am I doing? So, and then, like, I always knew that I'm not going to stay there. It was obvious to me. And then when I turned 14, that was the first opportunity to escape this place. And it was kind of like, my parents and I, like I said, we didn't get along, and I didn't want to be at home, and they didn't want me to be there. So it was like a kind of thing. Like, we shook hands, we said our goodbye, and I left, and I never came back since then. Yeah.
So that's pretty intense, and obviously there's a lot more to that story. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty intense. But here's where I'd like to go with this, and if you want to add anything to this, Chris. There's a lot of people who are in situations that they're trying to figure out, how did I get into this situation? Was it by birth? Was it by choice? Was it by need in the moment? And then they're trying to figure out how to get out. And, one of the things that I want people to not miss here is that you knew this from day one. So you were trusting yourself. Okay. I want people, when they're looking at this and saying, I need to get out of my decision or my situation, and they're making a decision, to really think about it. You had 14 years to say, not liking it here, not liking here, not liking here. Like, you got that. Like, this wasn't for you. And so I want to keep talking about the rest of this and the journey and how you shifted. But a lot of people will say, I need to escape too. And I want people to really think about you versus their escape. Because I know people are going to come watch this and say, I need to leave my relationship. I need to do this. I need to do that. And a lot of it, the stuff Chris and I talk about, is that inner work, is fine-tuning our spirituality, fine-tuning our body, fine-tuning our mind. And I know that's your big thing. You got out and you wanted to do that and do the inner work. So let's talk about where that journey started with that inner work at age 14 moving forward.
Okay, so first of all, I have to say I came from a super religious, Orthodox, super extreme. Like, my parents are against their own, like they're against military in Israel because there's that extreme. They're like super extreme. So for me, growing up, always spirituality, it was religion. Like, it was the same thing, and that was my enemy. Like, I did not believe in that. I did not want to have anything to do with spirituality, because in my eyes, it was religion, and I don't like, it's cage for me. Like, I don't want to do that. So when I left, I was very lost, and I was never present, like, in the moment. So it was kind of like, people say, how did you do it? You're so brave. I was like, it was pretty easy. I just did it, because I was never really experienced. Like, I never really experienced. I kind of like went parallel to myself, like throughout my life. And the inner work, the when I discovered that spirituality, it's not that. It's like completely something different. That was actually pretty recently. That was a year and a half ago. So I was 26 when that happened. So until the age of 26, I been through some stuff. I left my parents' house, and then I was in dorms for 3 years. It was a very religious dorms each time. So every year it was like a little less religious. And then after 3 years, I was like, okay, I got the idea. It doesn't matter the level of religious it is. It's just not for me. I'm out. Like, I'm not doing this. So I left. And then, in Israel, it's mandatory to go to the military when you turn 18. So for me, where I came from, the super extreme Orthodox people, they don't go to the military, and especially not the women. The women are staying at home. They're supposed to bring the money to the home, and they're supposed to take care of the husband. They're supposed to take care of the kids. They're supposed to be covered. They're supposed to be like, I was supposed to have 7 kids right now and like be like married in some shithole. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, so I wanted to be, when I left, it was after I left, I wanted to be like a normal person in Israel and join the military like a normal person in Israel. So I went to the place where they recruit people, and I canceled my pass, I would say, you know what I mean, right? Like they get a like pass like automatically, especially the women. So I canceled it, and I was like, okay, I want to go to the military and be like a normal person. I'll do like, so women go for 2 years, men go for 3 years. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do 2 years just to experience, because I know it might give me something good for life. Even though I knew that I'm not staying in Israel, because my dad is American originally. My parents, they became religious, so they went even more extreme because they wanted to prove themselves. So they went even more extreme than regular Orthodox. So so I had my thank God to my dad. Thank God. I had my American.
Wait, but that was religious.
I heard
it's still in me. But yeah, like my dad is American, so that's how, thankfully, like I had the opportunity to come here and to live here. And I always knew that I'm just not gonna stay in Israel because I just didn't fit in. Because regular people in Israel and there's big gap. Because why? Like, so if I explain this to you, you'll be like, okay, you'll understand the story exactly as I'm telling it, right? But if I'm trying to tell to someone from Israel where I came from how it was to live like that, they don't get it. They think they know how it is because they see those people everywhere, but they see it from the outside and they don't really know how it is to be from the inside. So it's very hard for me to be like, to get along, like to really understand and to really like, so I was like, you know, when I was in the army, it was the first time I experienced like I was having like social problems. And I always been like, I always had friends growing up. I always had you know, I always been friendly and stuff like that. But when I went to the army, I realized that I have some social problems because of where I came from. Because they also, I didn't mention that part, but they also separate men and women from age 1 completely. So I never really talked to a guy until I was maybe 16. So yeah, so that was, and you know, there's like a lot of things on the way. I was like very naive and thought that everybody's nice to me, and so a lot comes with that as well. But yeah, it's yeah, so I went to the army. I was there for 2 years, and then after, I was an operational driver, so like I drove the Humvees and the trucks, and I went to the field with artillery office. Like I was in officers industry, so everybody who becomes officers in an artillery branch, they went through us, and I would go with them to the field, and we would do like some exercises and stuff like that. So that was really, really great experience. It's probably one of the smartest thing I've ever done. There's like 5 really, really good things that I did in my life that was like, wow, like this. One of them was living in my parents' house when I was 14.
We're gonna talk about that. I want to actually just interject here for a second and just say thank you for being so honest and open about your experiences and being here on the show and sharing that. My mind is literally going with so many different questions. One of the questions that keeps coming back into my brain as I hear you talk, and what Scott said before, is we have a lot of people that watch the show, and sometimes they're limited by their capacity of the opinions and the beliefs of other people, right? So we hold ourselves back. I don't want that person to think ill of me, or I want that person's respect, or that's something that our family does. That's the heritage, that's the culture. I don't want to break that. Here you are saying, I recognize that I don't belong here, which a lot of people recognize in their life, whether it's their sexuality or anything else. They recognize they don't belong, but a lot of people have so many different mistakes or so many different excuses and fears as to why they don't do these things. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about some of the fears that you perhaps had in your mind. I know you were confident and said, I don't belong here, but what were some of the fears and potentially some of the excuses? And then the second part of that question is, how did all of this impact? I realized that you said that you and your parents said, a handshake and said, all right, adios, see you later. But with your siblings and everybody else, how has that affected your life and your relationships with them?
So the answer to the first question, I was honestly, I was so disconnected from myself, and I was not aware of my fear. Like, for me, just like, if I felt uncomfortable, until today, if I'm uncomfortable in a place, I'm just gonna get up and leave. Like, I can't stay in a place. And it was easy for me because I just didn't get along with my parents. I never had their good word. We never had, like, I never experienced any, warmth and love. And it's just very like technical, like, hey, Hannah, do the dishes. Hey, Hannah, do the. So it was easy for me to leave. It was like, I have nothing to, like, I kind of felt like I'm a slave. Like, I felt like this is why I came here, so it was easy for me to leave. But it's like, yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, that was my blessing, I guess, because otherwise I would probably stay there until today, and with my siblings, it's tough. I mean, I have 2 sisters here in the US that I'm pretty close with. So I'm very close with those 2, but the other siblings, it's like they're in Israel, and it's like, for me, it's very, I mean, we're kind of like very cold family. Like I said, there's no warmth, no love. So everybody's very disconnected, very spread out. So, I mean, I went to Israel a year and a half ago to visit, and I was with them, and it was good, but I mean, I talked to them. It's just like, we were never having that kind of like really strong bond. Like, I don't really know them, Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, it's so important just to recognize that sometimes, to be able, like you said, to be in that position where that whatever is going to happen next, you're going to get through it. And that sounds like that's the type of personality it sounds like you are, you have that tenacity to say, okay, listen, I don't like where I'm at, so I'm going to change it, which I highly admire and respect. So thank you for being that individual.
Thank you. I actually, when I was in the army, there was something that kept happening to me while I was in the army. And I always saw it as like something for life. Like it's like the same thing in life. So, I was a driver, and I always like got to a point where I was like in a corner that I was like, either there's like a big cliff or there's a big rock that I'm like, how am I going to get through it? But always, literally every single time, I never went back. I always found a little way at the back or like something. And I was like, oh my God, this is life. Because many times in my life, I got to like points that I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing from here. I don't know what's going to happen. But I somewhat always felt like there is like some kind of, I don't know, force or energy, or like I didn't even know. I couldn't admit that it was the universe. I didn't even know. But there was something that always guided me to the right direction, always kind of like opened the way for me. So I really saw it kept happening in life. So it's just like it happened with the car. So that was something that I was like, yeah, it's exactly like how it is in life.
So let's sit there for a minute, because this is one of those things that Chris and I are always talking about, where somebody's interpreting something or listening. So we have a lot of people who listen to our show who have very different beliefs than us. And one of the reasons I think they listen is much what you just said, where you had never spoken to boys and then you were talking to boys. And even if somebody did something malicious or evil, you're probably still more like, why? Like, you want to understand. And so we have a lot of people listen to our show. We have polar different beliefs than them, but they still come here to say, well, they're nice people, whatever, and they want to understand us. And so, to your point, I love what you're doing, because you're driving the Jeep, you're looking forward, you're going, I can't, but you're going, but maybe I can, and you keep leaning in. So let's talk to everyone who's listening tonight and listens in the future. How do we make ourselves lean in to understand others? How do we lean in to recognize, whether you call it God, universe, or whatever, there's something bigger than you directing you, and that we all need to come together and support one another? Because I'm hearing the same thing. Even though you left, you still went back to see your mom and dad. You wanted to embrace the military, even though that's for you, not for you. You want to come to the US. You want to keep moving forward. You want to understand. People need that. Talk about that a little bit.
So when I started my, I did a lot of work, like I mentioned, in the past year and a half, and I realized that, I was guiding through life with that energy, which is, I know now it's like the universe was guiding me like through the right places. But I started a therapy a year and a half ago. I got to like a very low point in my life, and thanks to this one person, he was a really bad person, but he led me to start therapy. And then I started therapy, and I grew so much from it. And like, if you talked to me like 2 years ago, we would not be in the same place. But so I really believe that that when you say something, like, I noticed for me also, like, after I opened my eyes and I woke up, I really noticed that everything I say, for good and for bad, it's really what's happening. Like, if I'm saying something good, this is happening. If I'm saying something, even like something like, I'm bad at directions, like something small and stupid like that, yes, I'm gonna be bad at direction because I keep saying that. But if I always said, I feel like there's something that's watching me and guiding me to the right places. So that's really what kept happening. And thank God, like, thank God, yeah. Like, I keep saying that, but I've always been like a positive person. I always saw like the good side of everything. So it's kind of like led me to that area. But I also always tell my clients, like, always focus on don't look at yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, I hate myself. Oh my God, I can't look at myself. I'm so fat. I need to. No, say I look amazing. I'm going to fit this dress. Like, I am fitting this dress, like, or whatever. It's like these talks that we tell ourselves, like, it really makes a difference. And I really noticed that, in the past year and a half, I've been just like really working on that, to not say something that's like, that I don't want it to happen, because it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. I was just telling somebody the other day, actually, we were talking about it. My coaching client, I have my coaching clients read certain books, and we started reading the 4 agreements. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but one of those 4 agreements is be impeccable with your word. And talking within that subset is what you're exactly saying. And this is something I've learned from Scott and some of my other mentors, is the fact that words have vibrational energy. And because it initiates here within ourselves, what you're saying is, if I sit there and put out to the universe, God, I'm always going to suck at public speaking, or I'm never going to be any good at that, then what happens is our subconscious mind, the reticular activation system, starts to see, okay, there's more evidence and more proof of why I can't do that. But what you're saying is brilliant, is to be able to say, focus on that, see it as the present tense, and put that vibrational energy, but more importantly, put the action behind that to make it an absolute reality. I love what you're saying. When you said when you were in your darkest moments, and you said you were thankful to that individual for getting you to that place, because that was a springboard for you to be where you're at now. Talk to us about some of those emotions and the way that you got out of your own excuses to be able to be the person you're at today.
Great question.
Yeah, so it was beginning of COVID, when COVID just started, and everybody was kind of like in home, and I kind of got to a point where I felt like a little lonely, and I was with my best friend. We used to live together at the time in Las Vegas, and I went on Tinder, and she told me, hey, listen, Tinder has this new feature that you can see people from all over the world. And I went there, and I was like, oh, let's see what's in Israel, just for fun, I guess. I don't know, whatever. And I was swiping right on this one guy that he's from Israel, and we were talking for a month every day for 5 to 8 hours. We had like chemistry, like a lot. Yeah, we got like pretty deep, and he told me like crazy things. Now, mind you, I'm 26 at the time, and I never been in a relationship. Like I never experienced that. So I thought it's normal. We got really connected and all that. And then after a month, I was able to go to Israel. Like he flew me out to Israel, and I got to see my family and my friends. So that was good. But it just, after 3 days that we were together, he gave me a ring.
Whoa. Ooh.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, it was and I thought it's normal. He said, okay, he said basically that listen, even if it's not gonna work out between us, I know I'm not gonna find anyone better than you, in these words, so you can keep the ring. And like, it was a very expensive ring, and I was like, okay, yeah. So, and then after like 2 weeks that I was there, he started to say things like, I don't know, like I need to go out with more women. I was gonna move to Israel for him. Like,
wow.
I was gonna go back.
So you accepted the proposal? You accepted?
Like in my head, it wasn't a proposal, really. Yeah, but yeah, I was like, yeah, like it was. I never experienced anything like that. So for me, it was like, oh my God, yeah, like.
So you're like, wow, okay, this is all amazing and new. Okay, I got you. I'm with you.
Yes. And he also told it to my friends and my family that even if it's not gonna work out, I can keep the ring and just like have it for fun,
It's like a consolation prize. Yeah, just go ahead and keep this thing if it doesn't work out. A lot of faith.
And it wasn't even his, it was his ex's. Like he was engaged to someone, and that was the ring that she chose.
Wow.
So I didn't know that part. So yeah, like, after it was like I was gonna move to Israel. Like I'm so thankful that it didn't happen, because I was gonna go back and for a month like collect my stuff and move to Israel. But then like 2 weeks before I came here to the US, he told me that he doesn't know, I'm not sure. I was like, okay, yeah, that's totally cool. Like it's pretty fast, like let's not do it. But he really hurt me, because he told me a lot of things, and he like promised me a lot of things. It's just like the words like was nothing. And for me, words are a lot of like, I don't just say words, for me, if you say something, you have to stand behind what you say. So I went back to the US, and I went back to live with my best friend, and I became like a zombie. Like I was very cold, like very like I didn't feel like my heart was broken, but I became like a zombie. My friend would sit next to me, like in a kitchen table when we were having dinner, and she would talk to me, and I would be on my phone, completely ignoring her. And then one day, like we had a conversation, and she told me about her therapist, and then that was the first time. Before that, it was like for me, like no way, I'm not doing therapy. But then that was the first time, and I was like, maybe I need that, because I don't want to feel like I'm a zombie. Like I'm not, yeah. So so I started a therapy, and like when I started a therapy, it was like just only 5 things. Hey, I want to learn how to communicate better. I want to learn how to say no, things like very like basic. And then we went deep, and what came out of there, wow, a lot of things, different things.
That's so beautiful, and everybody needs to listen to that loud and clear, because we can rewind through everything that you just said. You're sitting, with your parents with 11 other children, and they left the US. And I mean, I don't even need to know who they are, but I'm sure that they're fighting against something else. Like you said, they're proving, there's something they did. When you leave a country and go say, I'm going to be ultra strict, that's a response to something else. Very rarely is that your own critical thinking mind saying, this is who I am. The world doesn't work that way. So they're running from something. This guy literally leaves another girl and says, I need a relationship, comes to you, and he runs into it, gives you the ring. You're just responding because you haven't been in a relationship. Like, look at how the world is just in this response state. And it's not even response, it's hyper reactions. And so, back to square one, what I was saying, and the stuff that you're doing now that's so beautiful is we need to do the inner work in mind, body, and spirit, because they're intertwined. Again, Chris just did 75 hard. I'm always playing basketball, working out. I'm trying to eat healthy. We're doing all these things because in this vehicle that we live in here on this planet, it's fueled by spirit, and it's also fueled by up here, and there's an alignment. And so let's talk about your therapy, everything you've gone through, and how that comes into now and what you're sharing, because I see the output from all that. I didn't see you 2 years ago. I didn't see you 10 years ago. I didn't know you when you're 14. I don't know your parents. So it's really cool because other people are going to go, oh, she seems like she's got it together. That vulnerability and authenticity and truth. Talk about what you're sharing now and how you're a powerful coach based on your traumas and your issues. Because Chris and I do this all the time. We're not good coaches because we're really smart. We're really good coaches because of experience. A little bit smart, a little bit. So talk about that. All those things that happen that have built you up to be here today, and how you're doing it, and what you believe in, and what you're sharing.
Okay, so I'm going to start probably with the biggest thing of like the biggest gift I got from going to therapy is, if you asked me like 2 years ago, Hannah, do you love yourself? I would be like, yeah, of course. What do you mean? Like, of course I love myself. But, going through therapy and all that, I was like, one day I was like, but I got to, we did some work, and it was a few months in, I was in there, and one time I was thinking about that question, like, do I really love myself? Like, do I really feel that feeling of love in my body? And then I was thinking about like, what do I love? Like, I love like people. I'm like, because I figured, like, I realized that I don't really get connected to people in that level. Like I get connected, but I can also get very disconnected. Like, like when my I had a best friend that she killed herself, and she was, she was a transgender, and she killed herself. And then I was like, after 3 days, I was fine, like nothing happened. I feel like bad to say, but I was very, very like disconnected. And I was thinking about this question: do I really? What do I love? Like, I was like, okay, I love food, I love working out, but then I was like, wait, do I really love it? It's just a passion, right? Like maybe I love eating. It's like I have passion for working out. But I don't feel that feeling in my body. Like I felt like I knew a few months after I was in therapy, I knew that my heart is sealed. Like I don't have any emotions in my heart. Like I don't feel anything. And I was like, one day, I realized, I was like, okay, I need to crack this nut, because I need to experience this. I need to know how it feels like. So I just took myself to Red Rock, which is like mountains in Vegas. It was like 10 minutes away. And I was like, I told myself, okay, today's Sunday. I'm not leaving this place until I'm experiencing that feeling. And I was just sitting there on the mountains by myself, and I was meditating. For the first time, it was that I meditated for like in the outside, because I always did it in my apartment. I was sitting there, and I was like closing my eyes, and I felt like I was there for like at least 15 minutes. I was like, okay, I don't feel anything. And then I started to listen to the wind, and I could listen where the wind is just by listening. And I felt the wind on my face, and I felt the sun, and then I felt the sun, like the sun gave me love, like it gave me warmth. Like I felt like for the first time in my life, I felt like my heart was like getting full, you know, from the, I felt like the sun is giving me warmth, and the wind is giving me love, and everything is just like, it's right here. And I was like, oh, this is the universe, like this is me, like it's all, I'm part of this, like this is what it is. Like that's what the answer that I was missing. So after experiencing that for the first time, when I got it, you know, I was like, okay, so this is what it is. It's the universe. It's like, it's in me. It's like everything. It's like the sun. It's like everything. And then it was very easy for me to experience it since then. Because once I saw it, it was very easy to not go back and just know how this feeling is. And then it came to humans. Like I learned to really love my family, like really like appreciate and really care for people, and not just about it. It wasn't just about passion for something, because passion I had. It's just that love in my heart, the feeling that I was missing.
So you need to take this clip, and you need to go to the exact time where you started that, and you need to just title it mindfulness, and you need to put that out on the internet, because you just flawlessly just defined what it means to be mindful. Because right now, and you know, Chris referenced the ARS, the RAS, reticular activating system. There's only so much that we can handle at once, and we fill ourselves and we make ourselves busy, so we're never really feeling. And so I've got to do this. I've got to do this. Like you said, you didn't have love, so I've got to do the dishes. I've got to do this. Life is just literally a series of chores. I've got to go to school. I got to get to bed on time. I got to get up again. I've got to, and it's I gotta, and suddenly you pass away. And so that, and it sounds crazy, but Chris and I are always talking about the book, the top 5 regrets of the dying. The biggest regret is not living life enough for yourself. And I think that is directly, you know, touching the idea of being mindful. So if nobody listens to anything else we've said this whole time, go back and re-listen to Hanna right there, because there's something gorgeous about just sitting there and going, I can taste the wind, I can feel the sun. And that's embracing the now, the present moment, the gift. And that's all of life. Like we could drop these shows right now, never do another show. And if everybody takes that to heart and walks away, our work is done here. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's really so true. And I applaud you. I applaud you, because when you were talking about that, Hanna, I was sitting there thinking about, for me, getting in touch with more being in the moment. For me, it's so funny because I will just stop and stand, and my wife will look at me crazy because I wasn't this person, 4 or 5 years ago. But to your point, I will stop and I'm like, listen to the leaves, feel the wind. Like I'll just sit there and I'll feel the sun on my face, and I'll just feel like you said, I feel like I'm healing. I sit there and I just perceptualize. And I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. And before I wasn't really necessarily that. I was just the person that got shit done. And I just sit there and I stop and I'm like, wow, feeling the sun's radiance and just feeling like it pouring into me. It's such an amazing experience. So I wanted to say thank you for sharing that. When you were sitting there and experiencing this, I would imagine that being so closed off and so guarded for so much of your life, and having to protect yourself and protect your feelings, but still fight for what you're going to do, and be this person, or be this machine, if you will. Like, okay, nothing's going to stop me. This is who I am. I'm going to get what I want and everything. And then having this vulnerable moment where, the God, universe, the source is like sitting there saying, okay, listen here, little girl. Okay, you're getting older right now, but here's some lessons that you need to learn. And in that process, I can imagine that empathy and forgiveness would have had to come up for you in that process. And a lot of people that watch the show, and a lot of people that I work with, they have a challenge with being able to find forgiveness. And before we were talking about, essentially what we say is to seek first to understand, then to be understood. Talk to us about if there was any part of that where you had to go back and realize forgiveness for yourself, or have empathy for yourself. Or I think you kind of alluded to it a little bit before, is, having some empathy and understanding for whatever your parents might have been through to cause them to be the people that they were. But ultimately, what is your advice for people to be able to experience that for themselves and overcome some of that guardedness that people have such a desire to, like, you're not going to see who I am. I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to be weak. But when in actuality, it's a sign of strength to be able to overcome that.
Yeah. Wow, I have chills. Okay. So it's
mission accomplished.
This this topic is something that's it's like, probably there's the main things that are big for me that like I can't like I'm still working on it. I have a lot to work on still, and I'm on it.
We all
But
are.
one of the
Yeah, forever. So here's the beautiful thing, and I don't want to interrupt you, but I want you to hold this and remember this. If anybody ever tells you they're awakened, and not awakening, they're lying, because this is an ever-flowing universe with constant movement. So the minute you get one thing, there's one more. The goal is to realize that you're sitting in it and in balance, and in balance means we're constantly moving and responding, and we're forgiving, we're having empathy, we're releasing emotion. It's how do I stay in balance? It's kind of like surfing the wave of eternity. And so with that
Sure.
understood, you never have to be like this person's smart or whatever. We're just sharing information to surf that wave together for eternity. It's not
Good
more
analogy.
complicated than that. I just fell in the water and got eaten by a shark. Keep going.
So yeah, I mean, it's something for me. Being vulnerable, it was something that even in front of myself, it was very hard. Like for me, I always tell my therapist, it's very hard for me to seem weak. Like I'm supposed to be the strong person, always for myself. I always supposed to be like strong. I cannot show weakness. I cannot. If I cry when no one is watching. No one ever sees me cry. Like no way. So it was it started with like first of all being vulnerable to myself with my therapist. She guided me there. The first time she did something really beautiful. I actually want to experience, like I want to share that because that was amazing. She did like the first time she did like guided imagination with me. So she took me back to inside my mom's womb. So womb, that's how you say it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You got it.
So that was like okay. So she was that was the first time that she did something like that. Like her type of therapy is like she would ask me like, where do I feel like certain emotion, like where do I feel it in my body, like, and then what I'm thinking about, like what's coming up to my head when I'm feeling that emotion. Let's say I feel something pointy in my chest, what shape, what color, what texture, and then what's the first picture that comes into your mind. And then I was like, okay, that comes into my mind. So like certain age, usually it's like very beginning of life, like when we're still young. So one time I was like when I was like inside my mom's womb, and she took me back there. So she said, okay, close your eyes, and she kind of like took me back there, and I went to that little baby as I am today, and I saw her facial expression. Like she was very tense, and everything was very stressed. My mom was stressed. The outside of like the world was stressed because my mom always been taking care of kids, so it was like a lot of noise. And she told me, is the first time she told me, is there anything you want to tell that little baby, like to yourself? And I was like, no, I have nothing to tell her, but I just wanna just like pet her, like right here, just that I have nothing to tell her. I was like very like afraid of it. And then she like, I did that, and then the facial expression of the baby changed. And then when she told me, okay, it's about time to go back right now, she grabbed my finger. She didn't want to let me go. I like literally experienced that. It's just like, it was crazy. And then, but at least I saw her facial expression become more like calm. And I don't know where I was going with this, but I just wanted to share that. But
It's perfect.
it's that was very, very powerful. And then we did that with like other areas in life. But back to the topic is that feeling that we're trying to stay strong and like I'm still like, it's very hard for me to get vulnerable, but I can tell you for something that really helps me with the help of my therapist is to just like talk about it with people. That's why I'm also like sharing on social media, and I'm sharing like really deep stuff in my podcast or on social media. Like I'm very like open, because people say that maybe I'm helping people, but I'm actually doing it for me. it's really helping me when I'm doing it, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, so this is something, if you knew me like 2 years ago, I was the kind of person who keeps everything in my stomach. I never talk about anything to anyone. When people ask me, how are you? I was like, okay, I'm good, you know, like nothing. So this is like crazy, like if you knew me like 2 years ago.
So what's interesting, the fact that you're saying, and I talked to you about this the other day too, but the fact that you're telling other people and you're sharing, that's actually phase 3. Because in forgiveness, remember, one of the things that Chris and I share is ACT, and the first step is awareness. So once you're aware that you're something you did or something somebody else did, now I can address this is something that needs to be forgiven, whether it's from me or others. The next place is that commitment to doing it, and then the final piece is that telling. So you're already in phase 3. You're telling people that, hey, it's okay. And so think of this, that final tell, that's where you can really start, Chris and I talk about shedding the baggage and taking flight. So once we start shedding that baggage, or you specifically start shedding that baggage, that's when you get lighter. And there's a weird thing that will start coming over you. I mean, use the surfing analogy. Imagine you're trying to get up on a surfboard and you've got sandbags on your shoulders. That's what's happening. And the minute you just drop the sandbags, you get up on the board and you're like, I'm surfing. You're like, well, yeah, you always could have surfed. You just carried these bags because you thought you were supposed to. And as you're releasing those, this world gets more and more and more beautiful, I promise. It's an amazing place for all of us. We're all doing this, and it's a process. To your point, if you were saying, I felt like a pain in my throat. It's most likely or possibly something that you're not expressing or not saying, or something in the solar plexus. Could be more emotional and you're holding it down here. So you can identify those things. And when you start to feel them, create awareness, and then get through that process to tell, it's amazing, because you're throwing the bags off, and suddenly think how beautiful the world is if you're surfing with zero resistance, and it's just like fluid, and it's just like kind of like dancing on the wave, no sharks eating you. It's all perfect. But you're doing it. It's beautiful to watch. And I'm sure your stories and your sharing is, to Chris and I's point, we've got to share and be vulnerable. It's amazing what comes when somebody sees something we're doing. They're like, that's me. I'm there now. You were there then. Can you help me? And it's kind of like, hey, take that bag off your shoulder. Yeah. And so we're doing that. That's why we're here together, to help each other. And it's a beautiful process. It's a beautiful process. Chris, you got anything to add?
Yeah. I wanted to segue a little bit, because I noticed that we've already been talking for quite a lot of time. And you've come here, you've done this, you're doing the work. I applaud you 100%. It's going to get better. It's going to get easier. The more I've been vulnerable, I was the same way. I never told people I was homeless. I never told people anything. I was like, okay, I gotta have this persona about myself. And once I dropped all that bullshit and was just like, I just got to be me. Especially in the last couple of years, it's been absolutely amazing what I've attracted in my life. Scott and all these other beautiful people in my life doing this show has been truly remarkable. So you're such an early stage in your journey. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep expressing. Keep journeying. All that stuff. But now, more importantly, now you're a fitness coach, health coach. You're out here inspiring other people to take responsibility for their own lives. Talk to us a little bit about how you got into that, and maybe some of the characteristics, or maybe some of the things that separates you from your competition. Given your backstory and everything else, I imagine there's a little bit in there. But what are some of the things that you do with your clients now that gets them over the edge and creates the unstoppable life that they so badly want?
So I got into it like 7 years ago. I was forced into getting into fitness because I was forced. I started from eating healthy. I came to visit my family here in the US, and they were eating healthy. And I used to smoke cigarettes, when I was in the Army 7 years ago. So I was here for a whole month of eating healthy, and I kind of liked it. I kind of liked the food that my sister made, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to Israel. I'm not gonna smoke. I'm gonna start eating healthy, and then it's from there starting to be like fitness also. And so I've been doing that for the past 7 years, eating healthy. And of course, I learned with the years. And in 2019, I decided that this is my passion, and I wanna go and get certified with NASM. Through Body Design University, and I did that, and I found a way that it's really fun and like enjoyable to eating healthy and working out. So all of my workouts are very like unique. Like I like to mix like balance and HIIT, so endurance with strength. So I literally like make up like exercises. And also same with like food. I would make like ice cream with cauliflower, or cheesecake with tofu. I make like brownies from sweet potatoes. I love.
He's like, I'm not playing.
Yo, it's so freaking good. I promise you. I'm not just saying it because I let some people taste. I'm like, sometimes I'm thinking maybe it's in my head, but no, it's really, really good. And I share a lot of my recipes. Yeah, so basically my passion is to help people to, first of all, learn to love yourself from within, because it doesn't matter what the goal number, like if you see like a number on the scale, it's not going to make the difference. It has to come from within. So if you are a person that you look like a Victoria's Secret model, or you look like someone that, needs to, it doesn't matter. You need to really learn to love yourself from within. So that's something that I'm trying to find with my clients. So it's a lot of mental work as well. And it's really like tell them, like show them a way that they can enjoy it. So hey, you don't like this exercise, it's like, I'm not talking don't like, oh, it's hard, it's challenging. I'm not talking about that kind of don't like. I'm talking about like, really, I don't want to work out because of this exercise. And that happens. And I'm like, okay, we're not going to do this one. There's like a millions of other things that we can do. Like there are literally like endless of things that we can do to challenge you and make you enjoy it. So, all the balance stuff that I do, it's like a lot of challenge. It's like a lot of mental work as well. And it's just, my clients, they telling me I'm so excited for tomorrow's workout because like they excited for it. And this is what I want to hear. This is because it's a lifestyle. It's not like we're not here to do 2 months of let's do like a Nazi diet and you only have to eat lettuce and rice. No, let's enjoy it. Let's make it fun. And also like a lot of fitness coaches out there, like they would be like if let's say you ate something bad, they'll yell at you. So I don't believe in that, because I believe when you eat something bad, something that's not really healthy for you, it's just like, if you feel like beat yourself up for it, or especially if someone's gonna come out from the outside and gonna beat you for it, then your body won't digest it really well. So like your body's gonna resist that. Yeah, it's actually like they do it like it's like a research that the people have been doing. So it's very it's connected. So I notice also for me and also with my clients that they have like a cheat meal and they can enjoy, of course, with balance, and they're not like beating themselves up for it. Like they don't gain weight, like they don't, they just in peace with that. So it's just it's very important to just be like, okay, that happened, we can change that. Like you're not gonna throw up, it's not a thing. Like we don't do that. So instead, just think about how to plan it for next time to prevent it, that it's not gonna happen. And talk to me always talk to me about your struggles. Hey, let's find a way to do that. And there's always a way, and it can be enjoyable. That's really the bottom line, like, for sure.
I like it. And Chris, one of the things that's interesting, she's got her certifications through NASM, the National Association of Sports Medicine. And it's interesting because, when I got those certifications, a few years back, they only had one program that even dealt with anything behavioral. And I'm sure they still have the same program. It's literally, it's symptomatic. So what they're doing is they're saying, if this person won't do this, do this. But it's never going to the root cause. There's no classes about that. So what you're doing and not punishing them is crucial, because if someone's emotional eating, there's something much deeper. Like you said, you might just not be feeling. And so the way for you to almost feel is eat a thing of ice cream. And so for me to crucify that just makes you sit here and go, okay, so I already suck. Now I double suck. Oh, this is fun. And eventually there's so much negative energy. Instead of saying, I can see that, eating ice cream would be fun. What do we do? Do you want to keep doing that? Or is there something you want even more? And that's the badass part, is when trainers are doing what you're doing and going deeper and not criticizing nonstop. Because I've watched it. I mean, I walk around the gym and there's people who still do that. I've got friends I used to train with who, honestly, that's one of the reasons I stopped training with a certain person, is because they did that constantly.
Was he on our show?
He was.
It's also very important for me to mention that everybody's different. So whatever works for one person might not work for the other person. Not everybody needs the same training. Not everybody needs the same nutrition. Everybody's different. And the approach for me as a coach is different with all kinds of people.
100%.
So
And how do you
I
get
love
there?
that.
Yeah, you just ask questions. You can ask them and figure out who they are. It's just everyone says this is how people respond. It's like, no, that's how you respond. So I love it. It's perfect.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on testing? A lot of what I've seen in my own personal experience, and I'm not a bodybuilder or anything like that, but one thing I've noticed is for me, even personally, I went and got tested for gluten allergies, and went and did a bunch of tests, food allergy tests, and I did find out that I had sensitivities and whatnot. And once I started removing those foods from my program, I started feeling better, which ultimately, when I felt better, I wanted to work out more. What are your thoughts on people going proactively and getting, whether it's blood tests, whether it's, food allergy tests, whether it's vitamin deficiency tests? Are you a fan of any like scientific research to get a benchmark of where somebody's at and then testing them later on to see where they're at as well?
Yes, I definitely think it's a great way for you to know what's good for you, because let's say oats, for example, it's healthy, but it's not good for everybody. Not everybody digests it really well. So it's very good to do those. And also with vitamins, you know how people like, oh, I'm taking this vitamins and that vitamin, like they take like a whole bunch of loads of capsules, and your liver can't even break it down, because you overload your liver with things that you don't even need. Your body don't even absorb it. Yeah. With because you don't do it like as you should. So I definitely believe in that. And also there's the longer way to test it. So it's kind of like cutting things out of your diet. Like let's say you want to cut out meat and stuff like that, and see what's best for you. I've tried like a lot of different diets, and I found that for me, plant-based is the best. I don't think it's for everybody, but for me, it's the best. Like my performance is like crazy on plant-based. Like it's way better for me. But I've seen some people that when they do in plant-based, it's just not working for them, and it's totally okay. But again, I'm not talking about vegan, because vegan can be really shitty. It can be really, really like unhealthy. The ingredients are very, very important. I always say it's all about the ingredients, and the minimal ingredients, the better. Because just think about it like that. When you buy something at the grocery store, when you check the ingredients, if you see a whole list of things that you cannot even read, most likely your body cannot read that as well. It's just very simple, like simple science. Like if you can't read it, probably your body can't do the same either. So just like the minimal, like just be easy with your gut, and just like minimal ingredients, and make sure you can actually read everything. And of course, if you have like goals of like losing weight and stuff like that, you want to watch the macros as well. But people go like, oh, it's zero sugar, 0 calories. But then you look at the ingredients, literally not even
1,000 milligrams of sodium.
Yeah, there's nothing even in there.
Yeah, nothing. It's just crap you put in your body, like, and then your body don't digest it, and then it causes like disease, lots of like heart problems and digestive issues, because it's 0 calories. Okay, and then what's gonna happen in 10 years because of this shit, So
it's so true. And even also to the point of eating for your blood type. I know there's a book out there that's very popular that says eat for your blood type. And the reason why I asked that question is I have a personal friend of mine. She's a trainer. She's a doctor, and she thought plant-based. She's always eating plants. She's like, Christopher, actually, I hired her as my nutritionist years and years and years ago. I learned a ton, but it wasn't until a couple of years ago. She goes, Chris, I'm doing a new diet. I'm like, what are you doing? I said, you've always done plants and everything. She did a carnivore diet, and this blew my mind. She goes, Chris, I've done nothing but meat for 30 days. And she says, I feel amazing. She goes, the plant-based diet, I was doing okay. She goes, but on a carnivore diet, she goes, I feel amazing. And she went back to the plant-based diet, and it screwed her all up. And she thought she was doing the right thing, but just testing it out for yourself is one of those great things to do. So thank you for recommending that. In the interest of time and everything, this has been an amazing show. I know we want people to continue the conversation with you. I know I could ask you another about 50 million questions. So thank you for spending your time with us. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Where can people get a hold of you and continue the conversation? Where can they get a hold of you on your podcast? I need to listen to that podcast as well. But thank you again so much for being here on the show. Where can people get a hold of you?
Thank you so much for having me. So my podcast is simply Hanna Healthy. You can find it on through Buzzsprout, but you can also find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google Podcasts. And I have 7 episodes, so it's pretty new. So it's anything about health, like mental health, physical health, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. And then I got my Instagram, which is Hanna_healthy, Hanna no H at the end. Yes, and I have my website also. So.
And one thing, let's plug her real quick. So one of the things that really cool that came up of COVID that you're telling me you do Zoom-based fitness classes and Zoom-based training. So anybody who, for whatever reason, can't get to a gym or just doesn't want to and wants to work out a few times a week, get in touch with Hanna, because she'll be absolutely amazing. I guarantee it. And every day she's got something positive. The other day it was having a bad hair day, loving it, don't care, here I go. I mean, it's always something good. She's going to take something, flip it, and reframe it and make it good. So get in touch with Hanna.
Yeah. Also, one more thing I want to mention, there's the Zoom training, and then there's also like I build like people through like an app that they actually can do it either at the gym or at home. So there's also that I do. So it's like online thing. Yeah. So
love it.
Awesome. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Hanna Stone, thank you so much for being here on the Unfiltered Experience. We're going to put you backstage here for just a few minutes. Scott and I are going to round out the show. Don't go anywhere because we want to continue talking with you backstage for just a few moments. But thank you again for being here and sharing your brilliance. Look forward to having more conversations with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And there we have it. Another hour, Scott. And I forgot to even tell all of our listeners and our viewers, like, ask us questions and stuff like that. So please engage with us. I apologize for not doing that before, but I was so enthralled in her story and just the miraculousness of her having the tenacity and the vision to be able to say, listen, this is not me. This is not for me. And being able to sit there and just decide whatever it takes, whatever mountain I have to move, I'm going to get through that. And then ultimately moving those mountains and creating a life for herself. But then again, being open to the realization, like, okay, I don't want to be this person anymore either. And being open to be vulnerable and to going to see a therapist. I just highly applaud her. Thank you for introducing her to us.
I love it. Yeah. And you know, it's funny because so many times we look at all our supposed negatives and all our obstacles and all the things that are so difficult to manage. And we say, that's what's bringing me down. And we go into victim status. And you know this as well as I do. And if you want to lean into victor or player status, you've got to say, there's a reason that's there. What was it? Use it as a step instead of an obstacle and move your way up with it. And she did it. You know, she's thankful for a person who, hurt her and led her to therapy to find her own heart and get into those now moments. So I hope everybody heard that loud and clear. Do the same thing for yourself. You guys all rock, and we love you.
We love you. And as one final thought, and just to make sure you guys go to www.theunfilteredexperience.com, go there, become a part of our Facebook community. We're going to be focusing a lot of that in 2022. Scott and I have some great ideas for some upcoming different types of shows. So if you guys have ideas for guests, ideas for topics that we can cover, we want to hear from you guys. But more importantly, we want to interact with you guys in the Facebook community. So go to theunfilteredexperience.com. You can find all of our contact information. You can get in the group, introduce yourself, and let us know what it is that we can do to support you for having an amazing 2022. But first and foremost, and last but not least, we love each and every one of you guys. We want you guys to walk away from this experience inspired. And again, take one aspect of what she said tonight and how it can apply to your life and go do that. Go do that. Go focus on that one thing. Compound interest will build upon itself. And again, like she said so brilliantly, focus on where you're at and where you're going, not where you've been and what you've done. Use the psychology of the words that you use. Catch yourself when you're being negative. And I promise you guys will continue to grow and more things will unfold for you. More doors will open up for you. And you'll continue being a brilliant soul on this amazing adventure that we get to do here on the Spinning Blue Marble through space. We love each and every one of you. We're going to be back again next Friday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another guest, or it'll be Scott and myself just riffing, all designed to get you guys to move your life forward. So we love each and every one of you guys, our Unfiltered crew, and we want you to have a blessed weekend. Go out there and be the change you bitch about. And we love you guys. We'll see you next time here on the Unfiltered Experience. Peace.
Love you guys.